times today, with daytime highs approaching 60. Winds out of the southeast, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly cloudy skies expected tonight, lows around 41. Highs level off around 74 tomorrow, a blend of clouds and sun. Get weather anytime by calling 824-6101 or online at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. Currently 32.
WTIM.
You're listening to WTIM, your information station. Time now for your expanded local news. I'm Reed Kamai. The Taylorville Park Board met last night for their regular monthly meeting. Topics that were discussed included the repairs at the Lakeshore Golf Course and what the cost of those repairs will be, as well as Red Bland youth softball and baseball teams' request for new lighting that would run on generators for the ability to host later games and new netting for one of their batting cages. There also were updates on the recent oil spill in the Manners Park North Pond. The first topic that was discussed was the Lakeshore Golf Course. A representative from the golf course stated they requested new heating units for the cafe and other areas on the grounds, with a project budget of $14,296.
Kind of bring you up to speed, back in December, we had two furnaces go out at the same time. One furnace essentially is a complete replacement. The other furnace, they were able to take a part off of that furnace to keep the other one up and running in the pro shop. So we were able to avoid essentially two of them going down. Yeah. To make a long story short, the furnace that controls the heat and air in the men's and women's bathrooms is what needs replaced. The system or the unit is essentially original to the building when it was built in the early 90s. So, I mean, that's a long time. Yeah, it's 30 plus years old. So these bids basically are all pretty comparable. Let's start with yard heating and cooling. It's not listed, but it's the 2-page document you've got. They're both 96% efficient furnaces. The only difference in the price, from what I can tell, is one is a 2-stage, one is a single stage. I don't really think we need a 2-stage furnace there.
They both say single stage.
On page one, you're right. There is a single stage, and then the furnace so the condenser is a single stage. The furnace is a 2-stage.
The Red Bland youth baseball team sent representatives to the meeting as well to request new generator-powered lighting and batting cages netting for their youth baseball teams. One of the issues in needing these new updates was the ability to host later games and for safety of participants using the batting cages.
At James, we're talking about doing the generated lights. The biggest thing for us, we aren't able to do night games at James, like for the 10 and 12U. So that's a big blow for us because we can't host a lot of games for the older kids, the boys especially. We can at Dawn Brags for the girls, of course. We can't for the boys. Of course, this is no cost to you guys. We've looked into renting the generated lights for just the 6 weeks that we have games out there. We just wanted to propose it and ask if it would be okay if we could. We discussed it with Ben. We would have those chained to the fence, so they're pretty heavy.
That's the only thing I was going to
ask.
Yeah, we don't secure them.
Yeah, we would chain them to the fence. I don't think anybody would really come in and take off those easily, but of course we'd have to secure them by chaining those. So that's just one thing that we are wanting to get permission for.
Sure.
You know, that's just something we'd really like to do is the kids to be able to play, you know, in the evening games, because only 5 o'clock games kind of stinks, you know, and we'd like to have a lot more games here. We had to travel a lot last year. And we just want to have more games here. The other thing we'd like to propose is just something that we've talked about that would benefit the kids too, is putting in batting cages.
The requests made by the Red Bland youth team were approved across the board. The final update was on the cleanup and situation of the North Pond at Manners Park. The park's maintenance superintendent, Ben Dempsey, made a statement to the board in regard to the cause of the oil spill. According to Dempsey, the spill did leak from an oil drum at the nearby train depot. The EPA states as well that the pond is currently not a threat to the public, but further testing of the quality of the water is still ongoing.
On March 12th, we had a lady stop in at the office and reported a strange smell and some kind of sheen on the north pond. When I went out there to check it out, I traced the sheen back to the drain that comes from the storm drains around the area from the streets.
It's an overflow from
It's an
storm
overflow
sewer.
from storm sewers, yeah. And I called Mike Mann, the city superintendent, asked if there's any type of like spillage or something like that in the area. No, so he told me to call the fire chief. He comes out and we determined it smelled like diesel. And we got to looking around with me, the fire chief, and a couple of city employees, and that's when I told him the day before one of the local plumbers was pumping out the depot over here at the train depot and just, pumping that right out into the street. So we figured that's probably where it came from. Sure enough, that was the culprit. Norfolk Southern has assumed financial responsibilities for the cleanup and everything. The EPA was contacted. The railroad was contacted. The firemen had come out after the chief and I discovered what was going on. They put these things called booms in the water, which is kind of like a floating filtration type thing. How long are they going to be there? They're not 100% sure. Couple weeks. I mean, it's already been
over a
and a
week
half now.
yeah.
So they said probably within a couple weeks. There has been some testing of the water done. Nothing's came back definitive yet for, definite results on anything like that. They said that might take another week or two. They're saying we haven't seen any fish floating or anything like that. And they're saying there's no imminent danger to people being around, anything like,
For any further information, you can call the Park District's office or visit them online at TaylorvilleParkDistrict.com. The Christian County Sheriff's Office has added a new member to its team. Deputy Seth Hubbs has joined the department as a full-time officer, coming over as a lateral hire from the Assumption Police Department. Hubbs began his law enforcement career in 2020 with the Village of Kincaid and has also previously served part-time with the Christian County Sheriff's Office. He fills the position left vacant by Deputy Alan Bailey, who retired in February after years of service. Sheriff's officials say Hubbs brings valuable experience and a strong commitment to public service as he begins his new role serving the community. Drivers across Illinois are seeing a sharp jump at the pump. According to Gas Buddy, the average price for gasoline in Illinois has risen nearly 47 cents in the past week, now sitting at $4.16 per gallon. That's more than $1 higher than a month ago and about 77 cents higher than this time last year. Prices across the state vary widely, with the lowest reported at $3.38 per gallon and the highest at $5.49. Nationally, gas prices are also climbing, up about 24 cents in the last week to an average of $3.92 per gallon. Diesel prices are seeing an even steeper increase, jumping 27 cents to just over $5.22 per gallon, the highest level since late 2022. Closer to home, prices in Peoria are averaging just over $4 a gallon, while drivers in St. Louis are paying around $3.78, and Champaign sits just under $4. Analysts say seasonal trends and ongoing global supply concerns are driving the increase, with the national average expected to reach $4 per gallon in the coming days. Experts warn there are few signs of prices leveling off anytime soon. And now a word from First National Bank in Taylorville.
At First National Bank in Taylorville, just west of the square, we've spent 70 years being your local bank. The bank where relationships matter, because we've been part of this community for generations. I'm President Jared Beckham. Life moves fast. Families grow, businesses change, even banks come and go. But one thing stays the same. First National Bank in Taylorville has been here for you, and will be here for the next generation too. Serving Taylorville for 70 years, First National Bank in Taylorville. First every time, member FDIC.
State Senator Doris Turner is inviting residents to attend a senior resource fair on Thursday, April 9th. The event will take place from 11 to 2 at the Salvation Army of Decatur and Macon County, located at 229 West Main Street in Decatur. It is free and open to the public. Quote, the upcoming event will give seniors a one-stop shop to learn more about state and local resources available in the Decatur community, end quote, said Turner, a Democrat from Springfield. Quote, people will have the opportunity to get information to help them stay safe, informed, and healthy, end quote. Seniors will be able to ask questions and obtain information from a variety of healthcare providers and service providers, state programs, and local groups that provide resources to older adults. People with questions can reach out to Turner's office at 217-782-0228 or SenatorDorisTurner.com. March is an ideal time to begin preparing gardens for gardening season. Whether it's testing soil or picking the right plants to go with vegetables, the warm weather days provide good opportunities to get started on these plans. Cleaning gardens is also a significant first step to ensure this season's plants can thrive in them. Gwen Podesky and Linda Smith are master gardeners with the University of Illinois Extension. They say cleaning gardens gets rid of last season's growth, and good weather is the best time in which to do this.
Get rid of last year's growth, and whether it's a garden or your flower beds, now's a perfect time to get out and clean them up, remulch them, stir that mulch up a little bit.
Right. You may still have a little bit of time to send off a soil sample to the labs if you would like to know what your soil might need to improve your produce and make your flowers and things look great. But there are some things you can still do. There's some pruning. I was pruning on hydrangeas this week. I know hydrangeas are not something that generally tend to need heavy pruning, but I like to keep them within size and remove the old flowers. And of course, with an Annabelle hydrangea, that one can go to the ground now. You can take that down to the ground. It always blooms on new wood, and you'll just be doing yourself a favor if you do that.
Fall is the best time to test soil. For those who did not do so last fall, farm supply locations will accept samples and provide testing results.
You take it back to them, and I think the fee, last time I checked, was $19.
Something like that.
I think that's
and they
right.
send it off to a KSI lab in Shelbyville, and it's a certified lab, and you'll get the results back. And then some people have a little bit of trouble interpreting what the results are, so you can talk to FS, you can talk to the extension horticultural educator, and they can interpret it and tell you what you need on your ground. But now is a great time to do that, and it's a very simple process. You take a plastic bucket and you take samples from various parts of your garden or lawn or whatever you're trying to do, label them as to where they are, and then mix it all up, one sample at a time, mix it up, and then you put a cup in each of these bags that you want to sample and send them off.
Gardening experts advise planting pollinator-friendly flowers next to vegetable plants to attract pollinators to both kinds of plants. Plants native to the area work best.
500 plus species of bees in Illinois. So they're not just all bumblebees, carpenter bees, and honeybees. But and there are also a lot of solitary flies that do a fair bit of pollinating. So one of the ways they were telling us, I think this was interesting to tell the difference if you've got a fly or a wasp, is wasps and bees have long antenna and flies have relatively short antenna. So I had a syrphid fly or a hover fly out the other day, just kind of hanging out. But this is a good time to kind of start thinking about those 500 species of bees in Illinois are specific to most of the native plants. The native plants, you will get a lot of pollination, and sometimes it's good to do things like plant zinnias with your vegetable garden, because that will bring in butterflies, it will bring in a variety of pollinators that will help the plants with cross-pollination.
The extension will host a workshop on grafting fruit trees. It's scheduled for this Saturday from 10 till noon at their Montgomery County office in Hillsborough.
Hopefully, if you're interested in that, it'll be a great opportunity to learn how to graft fruit trees. And there's really a science to that. There's an art to it. And there's lots of techniques that people need to know if they're going to graft fruit trees, and especially if they've got existing stock on their property. But there is a $30 registration fee, but the good thing is you walk away with 2 grafted trees
that you've worked on. So they will provide the root stock, which usually the root stock is used. It's either more hardy or it is being used to determine the size of the plant,
the height,
the size of the tree for the most part, because the tree will grow as high as the root stock is, but it has to be compatible.
Registration for the workshop is available through a link in this story on our website, TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. More information on the University of Illinois Extension is available at extension.illinois.edu. Gwen Podesky and Linda Smith appeared as guests on the WTIM Morning Show. The Macon County Conservation District and the Macon County Conservation Foundation are celebrating milestone anniversaries with a community tree planting event next month. The groups will host the Rooted in Community 1,000 tree planting event on Saturday, April 18th, beginning at 9 in the morning. The event will take place on newly acquired property connecting Fort Daniel Conservation Area and Woodbine Farm near Dalton City. The Conservation District is marking 60 years while the foundation celebrates its 45th anniversary. The event also ties in with Earth Day and Arbor Day. Organizers say the 1,000 trees will help convert about 220 acres of former farmland back into native habitat. The project will create a 34-acre oak savanna, a once common ecosystem across Illinois and the Midwest that has nearly disappeared due to fire suppression and the loss of grazing animals like bison and elk. Officials say less than 1/100th of 1% of the original savanna landscape remains today. Community members can take part by purchasing trees for $20 each, volunteering to help plant, or supporting the project through fundraising and sponsorships. Organizers say individuals, families, businesses, schools, churches, and community groups are all invited to participate. Illinois Farm Bureau President Philip Nelson heads to the nation's capital this week. Nelson will be in Washington on Friday. The Rural Business Transition webinar series continues this week. The first session was held March 10th, and another is set for today. The program is a collaboration between the Illinois Institute for Rural Affairs and the University of Illinois Extension. Norm Walzer and Michael Delaney are promoting the effort.
Yeah.
Additional sessions are April 7th, April 21st, and May 5th. For more info or to register, visit go.illinois.edu/RBT. Now to obituaries, which can be found at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. 94-year-old Velma Grace Chloe of Kincaid died on Saturday. A graveside service will take place tomorrow at 11 at Tower Hill Cemetery. Arrangements are being handled by Masterson Funeral Home in Kincaid. And 94-year-old Doris Long of Greenville, formerly of Sorrento, died February 18th. Visitation is April 18th from 11 till noon at Donald Wygant Funeral Home in Greenville. A celebration of life will immediately follow. Interment will be at Brown Cemetery. Get local news anytime at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com and every hour as well right here on WTIM, your only local news.